Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining the session on Thema Talks. Today's session focuses on seagrass conservation in a changing climate. So, Thema Talks is an initiative of Thema Collection where we have created this platform where success stories and projects related to environment are shared with our participants, and the participants could also bring in their thoughts so that these success stories could be shared. So today's session is also focused on a much needed topic, which is focusing on seagrass conservation in a change in climate. So before you move on to the main session, I would like to introduce Danushka Vamadevan, the sales executive of Thema Collection, to give a brief introduction to Thema Collection and also the initiative Thema Talks. So over to you, Danushka.
Hi everyone, good evening to all of you. I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Ashan. So today I am here to give you all a brief introduction about Thema Collection and its initiatives on sustainability. So to start up, Thema Collection is a Sri Lankan hotel chain that consists of 12 unique and thematic properties. Under this umbrella, we are having eco-friendly hotels, boutiques, villas, restaurants, plus hostels as well. Each of our property is unique in its own style, concept, and design as well. So actually, these 12 concepts and stories that were born in our chairman, Mr. Chandra Vikramasinghe's mind, has been given life in this form. Also, I must say that all these properties bring about many authentic Sri Lankan experiences and adventures. So I have picked three of our properties to talk about today, relating to sustainability initiatives that we have taken. So first of all, I would like to talk about Tea and Experience Factory, which is one of our most prominent experience-based properties. This is located in Mandaram, Nuwara. So this is an old tea factory which was known as the Kabaragala Tea Factory, which was abandoned for 28 years, and now we have restored it into a boutique. Also, the tea factory is currently being operated. That is also part of the experience that we are providing at the tea factory. So the historical value of this property is that this has won the first tea auction held in Sri Lanka in 1833. And also this property is entirely into adventure and experiences. So basically, in a nutshell, if you take, it's like living in a tea factory for a night or two and gaining a whole lot of knowledge about tea, its rich history, and the tea factory operation. Apart from the amazing experiences, provide free of charge at the property. Uh, Also, we have this special experience that we provide, which is the leaf to cup experience. This is also done on complimentary, and this on this particular experience, what we do is we basically start with tea plucking, and being this is being guided by our naturalist who's based at the property itself, and this starts from tea plucking and then goes until tea tasting. Everything in between that's happening inside a tea factory is also shown to the guest, and also the guest is getting an opportunity to engage in the operation. So that's basically about tea and experience factory. And moving on to my next slide, I have the Scottish plant Glendevon Bungalow, which is located in Nuwara. This is actually in Ragala, which is about 45 minutes away from the town. So there is a reason that this property is being located not in the city but away from the city. Let me start about the property. So this is a beautiful colonial bungalow which is surrounded by tea plantations and mountain ranges, and this boasts a history of 100 years, and it pays tributes to the Scottish planters that were in Sri Lanka back in the day. So this bungalow is ideal for a peaceful, calm, and quiet holiday. That is the reason this is being located in an area away from the city. So here the most unique experience we have is the visit to the Liddesdale tea factory. So this experience is more and more unique because we do provide a lunch also inside the tea factory. So basically, it's just not they get to watch the tea factory operation; they get to enjoy a meal also inside the tea factory. So all these things are like arranged on request, but these are the unique experiences that we have. And also, apart from the hill country experiences, one of our seaside luxuries that was added recently to the portfolio is Vitavi. So Vitavi is a French name and the meaning is live your life. This is a luxury villa located in an located in an area which is recognized as a turtle nesting zone in Mirissa. As you can see on the slide, the logo itself displays a turtle. So here the idea is to conserve the turtle life in the zone. And let me come to our sustainability, the main sustainability initiatives we have at our chain. So we have two main projects. One is Berry, and the other one is Rev IT and Language Centers. So Berry stands for Biodiversity Educational Research Initiative. And through this initiative, we have supported 50 plus students on their research projects on different animal species. Also, apart from that, basic knowledge on these species have been shared among the communities as well. And also, the findings of these researchers that were conducted are on more than 25 publications currently. And the other main project is the REV project, REV. So this is also one key project that we have. The aim is to educate the village communities on computer literacy and languages. So there are 4 educational centers located in Busa, Ahangama, Seagrass, and also Kalkuda. And in Ahangama, there is a preschool as well. And I'm very glad to say that we have had the privilege to enlighten minds of over 6,000 students through these learning centers. And also in terms of in-house practices, we have reduced usage of single plastics at our properties. Instead, we have replaced them with glass wherever possible. Also, some of our properties use solar energy, and if you take waste paper, like all the waste paper that's in our head office and also at the properties, we send it to our recycling factory that is at Alia Resort. And these all these waste paper are recycled into baggage tags, souvenirs, drip mats, and kind of things like that. You can see the numbers in terms of progress of these initiatives on my slide. So we have reduced single use of plastics to 20,280 plus numbers. And also the sustainable energy consumption is 70,029 plus. And also the waste management paper recycling is 306 kilograms. It's actually over 306 kilograms to be precise. Further, in terms of creating awareness, we have conducted 6 sustainability sessions with 16 speakers, and 200 plus participants have been with us. And today we are here having the 7th session on Thema Talks on seagrass conservation in a changing climate. So this is the introduction that I wanted to give you all about Thema collection and the sustainability moves that we have taken. And also we have we have a team of lined up speakers with us today. So I hope you all would have a insightful session. And also I request you all to follow our social media pages by scanning the QR code. And also we have revamped our webpage on sustainability, so you can visit that as well. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you very much. Hope you all have a wonderful session today.
Thank you very much, Danushka, for the introduction. So, as you all know, Thema Collection, we have a unique property series in Sri Lanka, and we always try to promote our sustainable initiatives with the participants and also our guests. So, before move, I won't take much time. So now I would like to introduce the moderator for today's session, Samangi Aravattegama, who is the project coordinator of WNPS. So, Samangi, over to you.
Thank you, Ashan. Hope I'm audible and visible.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. To start off with the session, seagrass meadows are a vibrant underwater ecosystem that stretches along coastlines of the world. These submerged flowering plants create lush underwater meadows that provide habitats for countless number of species. I would like to invite our first speaker for the evening, Mr. Susantha Udagedara, Director, Seagrass and Climate Change Program of the Blue Resources Trust, to take us into the intricate world of seagrasses and their significance for both the marine realm and our own well-being. Over to you, Susantha.
Thank you very much, Samangi. So am I audible and visible?
Yes, perfect.
I will share the screen. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Everyone, good afternoon to all distinguished participants, including the foreign collegians, ladies and gentlemen. I feel deeply honored at being given the opportunity to be the speaker at this memorable event. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Thema Collection for arranging this timely, indeed significant event and the extending an invitation to me as an expert speaker. Today, I'm privileged to shed light on the one of the most fascinating yet often neglected habitat on our planet. That's called the secret garden under the sea. Seagrasses are named as seagrasses named as an oldest flowering plant, like the terrestrial plant, living on the saline water. They are mostly living on the shallow coastline water. So the terminology of the seagrass is one word, not a two words, because it was derived from the first international seagrass biology workshop, which was held in 1970. And the terminology of the seagrass is one word, and the different local names are there. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala language, so we call as a Muhudu Truna, and the Tamil, so it called as a Vattala. So you can see that the different terminology and different languages are used by the different countries. Seagrass and the algae are two different plant communities. Seagrass are the true flowering plant, which I explained earlier, true flowering plant, and they have leaves, flowers, rhizomes, and roots, and all the high evolutionary characters. But the algae doesn't have such kind of high taxonomic characters, and so they only hold fast to the hard substrate, and they are simple. So therefore, algae and the seagrass are two different plant components. So you can see that the flowers. Can you imagine that these kind of flowers are on the sea? So because these are the very beautiful flowers. Which was actually produced by the seagrasses. So therefore they are true flowering plants. And those can be found mostly, seagrass can be found mostly along the coastline from the tropic to the Arctic Circle, covering an estimated global area of 300,000 to 600,000 square kilometers. Those can be found in the 159 countries on the 6 subcontinental, making them one of the most widespread habitat on the earth. So if you look at the species diversity, so there are 72 species in the worldwide. all the species diversity, most of the species diversity are concentrated towards the equator. You can see that in this map, so all the species concentration is concentrated towards the tropic. Seagrasses are very important. So seagrasses are ecological and economically important due to the service and function they perform. The research has estimated that the value of the seagrass ecosystem service annually is 34,000 USD per hectare. And now I'm going to explain about the few selected important about the seagrasses. Seagrasses can acting as a sediment stabilizer. They can efficiently hold the sediment in place and the preventing resuspension and the movement of the sediment deposits. Therefore, it acts as the sediment stabilizer of the sea bottom. So they can process the nutrition. So seagrasses are supposed to improve the water quality by the filtering, recycling, cycling, and the storing nutrient and the pollutions. So they can actually support for the maintain the water quality or the improve the water quality, because excess nutrient and the suspended particles can be deposited on the seagrasses. And so therefore this important ecosystem help to improve the water quality. In addition to that, it disperse the seagrasses can disperse the energy that are coming through the currents, and the seagrasses help to reduce the wave energy by the 40%, and ultimately it protect the coastline as well as the dwellers who are actually living on the coastline, because seagrasses leaves can shake along with the waves, and they can disperse the kinetic energy that they are actually taking. And seagrasses provide the critical food source for the example of the dugong mantis, which are considered as a highly threatened species, mainly depend on the seagrasses. And adult dugongs consume the 40 kilogram of the seagrasses per day. A green turtle is taking at least 2 kilograms of seagrasses per day. So seagrasses are important as a food source for many threatened and other species. In addition to that, the seagrasses can provide the critical habitat for the many species. The best example is the seagrasses are used to be a habitat for the seahorse to hold fast, and the nursery habitat for the over 1/5 of the 25th large fisheries of the world. And the seagrasses are important as a nature-based climatic solution, specifically for the mitigation and adaptation. As you're aware that the seagrasses are 35 times more efficient at the carbon sequestration than the tropical rainforest. So moreover, excess organic carbon that are captured is buried within the seagrass sediment, which are a sink for the carbon sequestration, with the annual carbon storage of 19 petagrams of the organic carbon, and estimated global carbon storage of 27.4 teragrams per year. And this slide indicated the blue carbon stock around the world, and the blue color highlight indicated the carbon deposits of the seagrasses. So due to these importance, seagrasses are ranked as the third most important ecosystem in the world, following to the tropical rainforest and the mangrove, as well as the coral reef. In addition to the ecosystem service and the functions, seagrass used by the various communities, such as the classic autumnal raisin cookies with the inhaler seed flour, and the some of the species used to make the pickle. And so I will explain in later. So one species called the Syringodium isoptofolium, which is a cylinder-shaped seagrass. It can use for make the pickle. Seagrasses are used to extract the some of the medicines, such as the hormones. Seagrass has a high silicon content, and it helped to make the different type of handicrafts, which could help to enhance the livelihood activities. Unfortunately, seagrass are subjected to the many threats. This area covered by the meadow have declined rapidly in the last 2 decades, with the many resultant environmental impact. Threats with the highest impact on the seagrasses include the agricultural and industrial runoff, coastal development, and the climate change, unregulated fishing activity, anchoring of the board, trampling by the human, and the degrading dredging and the create the board channel also pose a major threats. So those are the major threats. Research has shown an estimated loss of 110 square kilometer of seagrasses lost uh, in years since 1980. And this is equivalent to the football field of, so you can't believe this figure actually. So this is equivalent to the football field of seagrasses being lost every 30 minutes, and the loss of 29% of the seagrasses that were believed to have existed in the beginning of the 20th century. So therefore, it is clear that the seagrasses are still ugly duckling of the conservation field. Therefore, the very high impacted journal like the Science and Nature, considered as a giant in the scientific communication, has given their cover page to give the recognition to the seagrasses due to its importance as well as the threats. Now I'm going to give us some kind of very recent information about the seagrasses. This news was the discovery of the world's largest plant and the oldest colony in the world, and it is indicated as a seagrasses living around the 4,500 years. Scientists placed the device on the marine predator, like the so it actually put into the a shark, and who helped to map the 92,000 square kilometer of seagrasses in the Bahamas. And a team of scientists now reported that seagrasses are released a large amount of sugar, largely in the form of sucrose, into the soil. So worldwide, more than 1 million tons of sucrose, enough for 32 billion cans of Coca-Cola. So this is very marvelous information, and they're very the recently published information. Then I will move to the Sri Lankan context. Exploration into the seagrasses through the herbarium sheets collection in Sri Lanka makes the early roots of scientific inquiry. The inception of the investigation dates back to the 18th century. With the pioneering collection of the Thalassia hemperici. This is the species of Thalassia hemperici. This was collected from the Puttama Lagoon in 1826. And that was the first evidence for the seagrasses in Sri Lanka, and this was actually deposited into the National Herbarium. So still this herbarium specimen in the National Herbarium. And this is serving as the pivotal moment, and this endeavor actually starting the study of the seagrasses. This is the herbarium specimen, which was actually now this was in the Kew Garden, and this was collected from Sri Lanka in 1867. So this is actually Enhalus actodius species called the Enhalus actodius. This was collected from the Sri Lanka in 1867, and this is seen on the Ceylon Flora project. And after first herbarium sheet collection, it means that 165 years after the initial herbarium sheet collection, the island-wide survey was carried out in 1991 by the UNESCO Man-made Biosphere Committee in Sri Lanka. It reported the 15 species of seagrasses Sri Lanka, providing a comprehensive illustrated taxonomic key. And as I explained earlier, so in the global, so there were 72 species of the seagrasses were there. And according to published literature, so Sri Lanka so far recorded 15 seagrasses species. And with regards to the seagrass species diversity and diversity in the globally, there are a region called the bioregion. So we are belongs to the Indo-Pacific bioregion, which has a little bit higher seagrass species diversity. If we consider about, if we actually compare with the our diversity with the Indo-Pacific bioregion, we represent the more than 65% of the Indo-Pacific bioregional seagrasses. These are the species list we are found. So you can see that in the table. So the species are in the under the species list, and the NCS mean the National Conservation Status under 2020 Flora Red List, and the GCS mean the Global Conservation Status in the 2011, and now it's being revising stage, and very soon it will update. And the green color two species were very recently reported from the Sri Lanka, and it was very recently added to the Sri Lankan checklist. So those are the species, and so you can see that the population trend of the species, sometimes so some of the species are decreasing trend, and some of them are stable, and some of don't have understand, because we should have a more study to get a clear picture of the species. So these are some of the photographs actually seen on the seafloor. So first species is Enhalus actorius in Sri Lanka. Mostly this species is found from the Puttama lagoons to the Jaffna area throughout the Gulf of Mena area. And this species is very long, so it can grow up to the 2 meter. It actually produces a very large seeds. They have a bisexual production, bisexuality too. So they have a female flower and the male flower too. And the another picture is Halophila beccari, which is one of the very rare species in Sri Lanka, and the Sri Lanka considered as a critically endangered species. So this called as normally this called as a tiger seagrass species. And the Sri Lanka, so only a location we can actually can observe in the Valachen area. And these are the rounded shape seagrass leaves are there. So those are Halophila decipensis, Halophila ovalis. And the Halophila ovata is also same leaf pattern. And so this photograph, not for the very small one. So the long leaf one is actually considered as a Thalassia hemperaceae, and so both of these photos are actually named as the Cymodocea irregulata and the Cymodocea rotundata. But very recently, taxonomy has revised, and the Cymodocea genus changed to the Oceania. Now it is called it actually used as a Oceania rotundata and the Oceania cerulata. And the so we have two halodiol species, Halodiol uninavis and Halophila finipolia, and the below right left hand side picture is for Rupia maritima. Normally this species is recorded in the, even though this is recorded in the offshore in the temperate countries, this species mainly recorded in our country, especially in the lagoon and the hypersaline areas, especially on the lagoon mouth. So you can see that you can actually found that the Rupia maritima, and which I earlier explained about the pickle. So Syringodium isotophiolium. So it's a cylinder. The body, the body is like a cylinder. Sorry. So it can use to make a pickle too. And I mentioned about the Halophila beccari is critically endangered species. This is actually the how the seagrass meadows looks like if you're actually snorkeling over there. So it is like a small creeping creep, and so it can attract to the sea bottom, and so this is very rare. In the globally also it considered as a vulnerable species. Now we are revising the global status also. We have actually negotiation to put it as endangered because of its restricted distribution and its threat, but it is still negotiation happening currently. And if you look at the distribution of the seagrasses, most of the recorded data is from the Jaffna up to the Rakova Lagoon. The extensive meadows are actually found from the Puttama lagoons to the Jaffna area towards the Gulf of Mena area, and some of the lagoon and some of the offshore areas has also present the seagrasses. Because most of the distribution are governed by the some of the factors like so they should inhibit mainly calm waters and the some of the sandy and the clay habitats, and the area where they don't want to actually have some kind of high wave current, so they actually stay at the calm water. Now I'm going to explain about the recent efforts, national efforts taking in relation to the seagrasses. 10 countries, including Sri Lanka, has incorporated seagrasses into their nationally determined contribution. 26 targets within the UN SDGs, CBD strategic planning, biodiversity, CBD strategic planning for the biodiversity, and the 20 Achi biodiversity target and the Ramsar Convention on the Wetland have incorporated seagrass conservation as a direct and the indirect implementation action. So far, I explained about the seagrasses and its importance as well as the threats. Now I'm going to provide how it can be conserved as an initial step. Research and the monitoring are the key to establish the baseline, because without baseline, we can't do anything. So therefore, all the scientists and the undergraduate who are actually joining today, so focused on to study one particular subject in seagrasses, and it can suppose to establish the baseline at least. And the so it is very important for the conservation planning. The second one is awareness, what we are doing today. So awareness is also a key element. Hence, it's important to educate all horizon of community, like the fishing community, school children, policymakers, because the fishing community is the people who are actually currently engaging with all the fishing activity with the seagrass area. So therefore, those information should be passed to them if we planning to have a conservation, as well as the policymakers need to be aware. Another one is we recently observed that the we recently observed that the large algal mortality and the large algal invasion. So it is because of the water quality deterioration and the high nutrition. So most of the high nutritions are coming from the upstreams. From the inland sources. So therefore, we need to reduce the land-based pollution by implementing some of the solution like the sustainable consumption and practices. Another one is very challenging. All of them are talking about the restoration, but in seagrass, we should look at the scientific restoration. So implementation of the scientific oriented restoration is another option. It's the least option to restore the habitat. However, it requires considerable cost, but it will provide the countries with the opportunity to achieve the commitments to made the upcoming United Nations decades of the environment restoration. So unfortunately, in the globally, only 26% of the recorded seagrasses or meadows are fallen within the marine protected area, compared with the 40% of the coral reef and the 43% of the mangrove. Therefore, declaration and the management of protected area is critical for conservation of the seagrasses, but it is not declaration is not enough, but we should need to implement some of the management mechanism. But as an initial step, we should need to declare some area to give us some kind of strong conservation management practices. So another one is the best example is the proposed management mechanism is the community-driven management, such as the declaration of the environment sensitive area, because this component the people are actually not excluded. Most of the declaration has excluded the people, so therefore this declaration doesn't exclude the people. So the environment sensitive area is another concept to conservation of the seagrasses. So those are the things that I need to highlight. So managing coastal ecosystem is challenging, especially developing countries such as Sri Lanka. Uh, 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 Managing coastal system is challenging, especially developing countries such as Sri Lanka, where it's important to consider the cost-benefit analysis between the direct and economic benefits of the coastal development and management. Sri Lanka, as a nation, endowed with the critical seagrass habitat and the heavily reliant on the coastal resources, stand at the crucial stage. It is high hand for us to take the pivotal action towards the conservation of our seagrasses and the marine ecosystem. Notably, our country has taken a significant step by the officially recognizing March 1st as the World Seagrasses Day. And it is very important because our significant step by the officially recognizing UN World Seagrass Day as a March 1st. This milestone makes the beginning of the potential journey where Sri Lanka can forefront the global effort in the conserving and the responsibly managing seagrass ecosystem in the worldwide. In significance of our commitment to leading the changes in the safeguard the vital natural resources for the sustainable future. So therefore, if you have any further questions or need to clarification, please free to use the QR code to access my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out me. I'll be more than happy to assist you. So therefore, I would actually thankful if all the participants, and so I would like to say thank you very much for listening this talk, and hope you get some information, and especially the graduate students, if we're actually planning to start the research on the seagrasses, that is the ideal scenario. It can be feed onto the set up the baseline in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susanta. That was a very interesting presentation. So as we all saw, seagrasses are an important ecosystem to humans as well as to a diverse array of marine organisms. And also, as we saw, Sri Lankan coastline has a nationally critically endangered as well as a globally vulnerable seagrass species, which is Halophila beccari. And it is essential to raise awareness and protect these ecosystems. So as Susanta said, all graduates and undergraduates can reach out to Susanta for any more questions regarding his research or to get more information on seagrasses. So before moving on to our next speaker, I would like to tell you, if you do have any questions, please drop them into the chat box so that after the next session, we can take them up during the Q&A session. So moving on to our next speaker for the evening, Mr. Graham Marshall, Chair for the Marine Subcommittee of the Wildlife and Nature Protection Society of Sri Lanka. WNPS is a non-profit organization and the third oldest nature protection society in the world. It works tirelessly to conserve Sri Lanka's nature in all its forms. Speaking about the WNPS Marine Subcommittee, it is centered towards supporting and driving the conservation of marine species and habitats by engaging in conservation activity that builds awareness, knowledge, and shaping policies on the marine ecosystems. Over to you, Graham.
Thank you very much, Samangi. You've given a very strong introduction to the WNPS. Thank you. And I'll take off from there. Let me share my screen Ashan, I have possibly 7 minutes, roughly.
Yes, perfect. You can take.
Okay. Firstly, before I get on to what I really want to say, I think I'll just take on from Samangi just to dovetail into what she said. Yes, in fact, the WNPS is working tirelessly on many fronts, but I'll confine myself to what we are doing, particularly for this lecture on, give you an idea of what we're doing on blue carbon ecosystems. We work very hard to conserve and protect. And thirdly, I'm saying very categorically, thirdly, to regenerate, if destroyed, scientifically regenerate blue carbon ecosystems. So under that umbrella would be mangroves, and which we're doing a lot of work on, and I'll tell you about that in a couple of minutes. But seagrasses is now getting very much into our radar space. We're looking at working on this relatively unknown jewel, and Susantha is working with us very closely. And this is, in fact, one of the awareness sessions, and I'm thankful for Thema Collection to giving WNPS and us the opportunity to talk about this, and and none less than the expert on seagrasses, Susantha Dugadara, who has done a huge amount of work nationally as well, thanks to his efforts. Sri Lanka has been was the first country to promote and move the World Seagrass Day, which, as he said, was on the 1st of March. So there's plenty of work to be done on conservation of seagrasses. Firstly, what we're trying to do is create awareness on what this is all about, what seagrasses are, right? And this is one of those sessions. But in saying that, and I know there are a lot of scientists in this audience, I'm going to give you a flavor of what we're doing on mangroves, so that I'm sure, and Susantha will probably answer this question better for me. He'll probably tell us that some of this work could run very similar trajectories to seagrass conservation as well. I can see another extremely distinguished gentleman in the audience, none other than Dr. Malik Fernando. Thank you, Doctor, for being with us. I know it's the time you like to take the day off after hard work. Thanks for being with us. So Dr. Malik is also, an advisor to the Science Committee, to the Marine Committee, and to the WNPS overall. Anyway, just sharing my slides. I've got a couple of minutes. I just want to show you what we are doing. Can you see me? Can you see my slides? Or yeah, hang on. Okay, now can see. I'm going to get on full screen. This about. So essentially, the WNPS, together with the Department of Wildlife Conservation, the Wayamba University, the Forest Department, Ministry of Environment, has embarked on a project to restore 100 hectares of mangrove in the Ramsar site, which we now call Anavilundava. I'm not going to go into huge details, but this is a 5-year project where we're trying to scientifically restore to the original habitat around it, 100 hectares of absolutely devastated territory, which was now previously used for prawn culture, into mangroves. And this is now becoming a cradle of science. We have many scientists working on site. There are many research projects that we're now fielding in Anavilundava itself. I'm speaking parallelly. Please take a little time to read what's on the screen. Because of the lack of time, I'm just going to show that that's giving you what Anavilundava is all about. For those of you who possibly wouldn't know what it is, it's a wetland right north of Chilau, half an hour from Chilau. It's a Ramsar site, as I said here. Okay, and this is preferably, it is essentially owned. When I say owned, governed and owned by the state and the Department of Wildlife Conservation, under whose protection it comes, and we're all working towards with the Department of Wildlife Conservation, who has invited WNPS to be a science partner for this project. I'm just going to give you a flavor of what's going on, and to encourage those of you who are interested to come and join us in this fascinating journey. If you can see here, what do you see? Plenty of work out there in the field. You have, you have belt transect studies, you have, water quality studies going on. You have bird surveys, butterfly surveys, and in fact, just to give you an idea, this is the gastropod survey. Can you see belt transects there? One of the probably a unique, or for the first time, we discovered a bivalve, Mytella strigata, identified by Dr. Malik Fernando, who is with us in this audience. Fascinating discovery, and we're seeing a lot of regenerated ecosystem, flora and fauna ecosystem species getting into the ecosystem now naturally, and we are in the third year. As you can see, this is some of our other surveys, butterfly surveys. We have experts coming in, working with us very closely, doing surveys on the butterfly surveys. That's a bird survey. That's taking place with those every month. We have also 14 undergraduate research projects, as I told you. You can see here above ground biomass and organic carbon accumulation studies, and we have plastic debris contamination associated with water quality studies. Fantastic work being done by the team of scientists and students. Then you can see the ecology and the morphology studies of mangroves and the study of flowering seasons. Amazing work. Some of it done in the laboratory at site, some of it done at Biombo University. So just let me get my, okay, so that's that. There are many other studies that are being done. We have an in-house lab. We're funded by private sector and the Ministry of Environment, and even foreign entities like CEPAS, UK, CSIRO, the US Forest Service, who are helping us bring some of these very expensive equipment that facilitates science. And we have a couple of researchers working there. Our head researcher is now going in to do his MPhil there. So as you can see, now the other important aspect of this is not only regeneration, but as you all know, conservation without community involvement is a no-go. So what we are doing is we're engaging community. We're trying to see how we can enhance livelihoods, get them integrated into the project, teach them about some of the mangrove ecosystems. Susantha was talking about ecosystem services. Susantha was talking about what you can generate from seagrasses, but here, how we can generate and drive peripheral community economies to live off mangrove ecosystems. And there is plenty of stuff from traditional medicines to, to herbs, to tourism, to, fishing, which is absolutely essential. And what's important is the prawn farmers who actually, out of a lack of knowledge, really destroyed the mangrove habitats for prawn farming 2 decades ago, are now realizing that regeneration of the habitat is not only increasing their prawn stock, but also their fish stock in the waterways of the mangrove habitats when the prawns are not in, when they're out of harvest and in the out of harvest season. So it's an amazing balance. And essentially, as with the regeneration of mangroves, we're also looking at enhancing economies of communities living in the area. Now, I can go on for long and long, but as we have just 5 to 7 minutes, so I'm going to stop there and happy to field questions. We're looking forward to participation both from from organizations in joining us, in funding us, and also for those of you scientists who'd like to come in, do some work, learn, get into the field, get your hands and feet dirty. And, we're looking for hands, feet, and energy to help our scientists. There's a lot of work out there. I'm just speaking of just the iceberg, just the tip of the iceberg, but there's tons of work out there. So do join us. Contact the WNPS. You can contact me. You can contact Ashan, and help us move along in this venture. So thank you very much. Thank you. I can't mention organizations individually, as I mentioned some of them. HEMAS, Hades Advantage, US Forest, Biodiversity Lanka, Star Garments, CMS, CGM Shipping, many organizations, private and foreign and local, who are partnering us in this very exciting venture. Looking forward to your participation too, and we're happy to take questions going forward on this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Graham. That was a very touchy presentation, and about the amazing work we do in Anavilundava. And again, I would like to invite those who would like to join us. Please reach out and join us in this venture. So I would like to move into the Q&A session. I can see a few questions in the chat box. Okay, there's a question for Susantha. Rimesh Dilshan asks, what can individuals do to contribute to seagrass conservation?
Well, so it is a very valid question, and there are so many things individual can do, but very upfront thing is, so if we can actually educate the surrounding people and the community, that might be ideas innovation. And in addition to that, as I explained earlier, so all the nutrition and all the waste are from the land, so it ended up with the ocean. And so our recent study revealed that the seagrass soil and the seagrass blades can trap the microplastic, because seagrass has one ecosystem service, one of the ecosystem service called the seagrasses can, I explained earlier too. So seagrasses can reduce the wave energy, and it clear the water and it deposit the sediment. So therefore, ultimately, all the microplastic are ended up with the seagrass meadows, as well as all the nutrients are positively correlation with the algal bloom generation. So therefore, if individual can think about that one, and if individual can responsibly manage the waste, as well as responsibly conserve the resources, and reduce all the land-based pollution, as well as the other activities, so we can ideally help to enhance the water quality that are flowing to the seagrass beds, as well as the if that individual can educate the other people, so we can educate all the peoples about the importance and everything, so then self-conservation can be done.
Thank you, Susantha. Also, there's another question. Are there educational programs aimed at promoting sustainable practices and reducing human impact on seagrass ecosystems?
So, what is the question? Sorry, I missed that one.
Are there educational programs aimed at promoting sustainable practices and reducing human impact on seagrass ecosystems?
Yes, well, so there are so many programs in the world. So even in the online platform also, there are so many programs to sustainable consumption and the production, as well as the awareness programs too. But so they were not specifically targeted for the seagrass conservation, but sometimes a month of March is dedicated for the seagrass awareness in the world. So therefore, probably if we actually keep in touch with the some of the organizations like the Project Seagrass and the World Seagrass Association, they do the awareness session on the seagrass conservation and other related talk, especially on the month of May, targeting to the World Seagrasses Day. So therefore, through that can get us some kind of information. But if we actually Google search and can find many of the courses and the diploma or some other courses too. I hope that I give some answer for that question.
All right. There's another question. Seagrasses can be used in situ and ex situ both conservation methods.
Yes, globally, so there are in situ as well as the ex situ programs are going on. Especially, I mentioned that some of the species are very, very rare. So those species can be grown in situ, but it actually required a considerable effort of time, knowledge, as well as the finance too. So in countries like Australia, they actually build up some sort of aquariums to grow the seagrasses, and they ultimately introduce into the natural environment, as well as the in situ conservation. So I actually mentioned that the 26% of the global seagrass meadows are fallen within the marine protected area. So in the marine protected area concept, so there is a management plan. In the each management plan, some area dedicated for no entry zones. So those are prohibited. Those are only allowed for education purpose and the research purpose. None of the activity are allowed for that particular zones. So those activity can be conserved the seagrass as an in situ conservation, and in addition to that, the community-driven approach like the ecosystem in ESA concept, environment sensitive area, declaration of the environment sensitive area. So those are can be used as an in situ conservation for the seagrass conservation.
There's another question. Among the 15 seagrass species reported in Sri Lanka, which species exhibits the highest carbon sequestration rate? And also, are there specific species-based conservation approaches implemented in Sri Lanka currently?
At the moment, so there are so many studies are going on with the blue carbon, because blue carbon is now blooming subject, and this most of them are studying the blue carbon stock. We are also doing some kind of blue carbon stock analysis, but I actually didn't actually notify any kind of work going on with the carbon sequestration in the Sri Lanka, because it required chamber measurements to look at the carbon sequestration potential, or either it can be done with the some of the high-tech analysis like the lead 210 analysis. Through that can only look at the carbon sequestration potential, but it is very expensive. Sri Lanka doesn't have any equipment for the facilitate that kind of thing, but manually we can do if we want. So but at the moment, so Sri Lanka doesn't have a carbon sequestration information. Very recently there was a publication done by the Stancoit 2020 23, and that paper she reviewed all the carbon sequestration, soil carbon stock on the all the blue carbon habitat, and clearly indicated that the Sri Lanka doesn't have any kind of information on the carbon sequestration rate information. But we do have some kind of information on the carbon stock, as well as the above ground and the below ground carbon stock. With regard to the above ground and the below ground, Cymodocea species, which I actually told that the it was revised, it was very recently revised. It's Oceania cerulata. It has a high above ground and the below ground carbon stock, as well as the some of the other soil carbon stocks to be calculated. So those are the things currently information in the Sri Lanka. So those are the things.
Thank you, Susantha. I think the next question is for Graham. Is it possible to grow prawn farms alongside the mangroves, as mangroves acts as refuge for prawns and the young of many fish species?
Interesting question. Firstly, under no circumstances so should any habitat be destroyed for any form of aquaculture. Point one. We first preserve and conserve before we can regenerate. So I hope that answers the question. So essentially, I think I hope that answers the question. As for As for having prawn farms contiguous or near mangrove ecosystems, well, as we're doing now, it so happened that it's like that. Generally, what generally happens is there have to be, there are adverse effects, effluents being released into sensitive areas, and essentially it's not something that ideally should happen. So my answer is they shouldn't be coexisting together. But if they do, then what you do is you've got, like, if you're regenerating some patches of mangrove next to prawn farms, which already exist and which have been the patches like we're doing in Andrajapura, in Anolundava, which have been destroyed and should have been mangrove, then you mitigate. Then you obviously look at how the prawn farmers could mitigate by, how they can reduce or negate the negative activity. For example, when I say negative, it's stuff like releasing effluent into, say, for example, into the waterways. How do you do that? How do you reduce the amount of toxicity in that is being released? So, and though you've got to exist as a as a partner, and so that both the mangrove ecosystem and, as I said, and the prawn farm coexist. But in summary, what I'm saying is there should be absolutely no destruction of habitat for aquaculture. That's a no-go.
Thank you, Graham. There's another question. Is it possible to join your movement and organization in order to contribute ourselves too?
Of course, we're with arms wide open. We'd love to have you. Yeah.
Thanks. Also, any projects that WNPS has planned on seagrass conservation?
Well, essentially yes. So they're just about starting. This is one such avenue, and I said thanks to Thema Collection for giving us the opportunity also. One of the main things initially is to create awareness about the value of seagrasses and the threat to seagrasses. And the strong campaigner for this is none other than Susantha, and WNPS is very much behind this. So the second thing would be to fund scientific research and promote the scientific, the science of seagrass, the importance of the ecological impact that seagrasses have, and some of the issues which are related to destroying seagrasses. And also, as Susantha said, you're talking about $35,000 of ecosystem services. How do we generate? So essentially, yes, WNPS is on that road, but I have to say, as far as mangroves, we are very far down the road. But with seagrasses, we are just beginning. But we'll get there, and there is a plan to get there. And we're the first stage of awareness, and that's where we are at the moment.
Thank you, Graham. Yes. So also, we have a message from Professor Sewandi. Okay. Madam says that we are looking for some volunteers in January for a brush park related research, and to please contact her if interested. Please reach out to.
Honored to have her on this webinar, indeed.
Yes. All right. So I hope it was a meaningful session, and I would like to thank Graham and Susantha for joining. And for conclusion, I would like to hand over to Ashan. Ashan, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samangi, and thank you very much for everybody who joined the session. I hope this program gives some insightful discussion into seagrass. So I would like to thank the speakers once again, Susantha Udagadara, for coming in and accepting our invitation and conducting this session. And also I would like to again thank Graham for collaborating with us for this event and sharing how the youth and people could collaborate with WNPS in moving this forward. And if you are interested in conducting research based on seagrass, you could always contact Susantha directly, and you could conduct the research. And also, last but not least, I would like to thank Samangi Alavatthakam for taking this session and moderating the session for us today. And if you, so every month we'll be having a session. So next month on January, we are planning to have a session based on the human-elephant conflict in Sri Lanka. So if you need to know more information, you can always follow us on our social media channels, Sustainability at Thema Collection, or always do write to us at mgr.sustainability@themacollection.com. Once again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining the session. Hope to see you on another session next month. Good night.
Thank you, Ashan. Thank you.